noise or Zoom lag.
Background's fine, man.
Mine?
Yeah, you just look much smaller than I do.
Smaller.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Cannot complain.
That's
In Barbados, so
great.
it's not the madness you guys are dealing with, so it's quite good.
Yeah, absolutely. I was planning to be out there in December, but Run Barbados was cancelled,
Yeah.
and I wasn't looking forward to the quarantine before I could get on the beach, so I decided not to come.
Hmm. I mean, it's actually not that bad. I mean, I arrived on the Thursday and I was out Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really good what they do here. So you have to take a test 72 hours before you fly, and then you take a
Mhm.
second test like 5 days after your first negative. And so I
Okay.
took it the Friday like afternoon, and then I got it back Saturday, and I was out Saturday afternoon. So it's real good how they're dealing with it now, and we haven't had any community spread at all. The only cases have been from people coming in from
Yeah,
overseas. So so the government doing a really really good job.
That's
that's
awesome.
good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Well, it's great. Thank you for joining us today. I
Thanks
just
for
want to
having me.
talk a bit about, you, your athleticism, and basically, how 2019 has been. From the jump, how has COVID kind of affect your training, if any?
So I unfortunately actually got a stress fracture in the beginning of February. So
Okay.
that was going to put a big setback on my season because I was basically like 3 months away from
Mhm.
running or until I'm back to full running. So
Okay.
I come home probably towards the end of February back to Barbados because being in the
Yeah.
training environment and then I train in the center in Cardiff and there's nothing worse than being involved with everyone when you can't train. It's
Yeah.
nothing more miserable. So my coach said, look, go home for a few weeks, catch yourself, get some sun on your back and then come back up ready to kind of build back up. But obviously that coincided with all the COVID stuff kicking off. So I'd
Mhm.
gone home, end of February, and my coach kind of messaged me in the middle of March, being like, "Look, don't even bother coming back. It's all about to get shut down."
Yeah.
And I traveled without a bike because so I'm a professional triathlete. I'm not just a runner. So I
Yeah.
traveled without a
Yeah.
bike. I couldn't run because I had my foot was in a boot. I could just
Hmm.
swim with like a pull buoy between my legs. So I wasn't allowed to kick or anything.
Okay.
So I was going to do that for 3-4 weeks and then come back up in the middle of March and build back up. But obviously
Hmm.
COVID kind of cut that. So I was like, our borders were closed. It was all kicking off. So I was stuck in Barbados without a bike.
Yeah.
Only started back, could kind of start back running, but then Barbados went into like a heavy lockdown. They closed all the beaches, closed
Hmm.
schools. We basically weren't really allowed to leave our house for 6 weeks, apart from like
Yeah.
supermarket shopping, similar to how the world was. So
Hmm.
yeah, basically I was stuck kind of rehabbing from an injury, but not able to start back training. So I kind of realistically, I took, I'd say the better part of 4 months almost completely off, when I look back at
Wow.
basically from March to when I was able to return to the UK in the middle of July. I think I, went from usually averaging, about 20 hours a week of training to averaging something like 5 hours a week of training. So
Hmm.
um, I think I did, like, now I look back, I did need that mental kind of break where I was able to really recover from my injury because obviously it was a massive mental blow. Like my Olympic ambitions were taken away because I wasn't going to be able to qualify anymore.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so it was a big blow, but I was able to, no one was racing, half the people couldn't train. So I didn't feel that
Yeah.
guilt of like, you do when you get an injury, you see everyone
Yeah.
smashing it and training and racing, and you're like, get me back as soon as possible. I was able to
Hmm.
just completely like turn off, spend time with my family, which I haven't properly done for years, and
Yeah.
my brother was here too, so it's the four of us in the house for 2 months. You couldn't socialize, so you just stuck with each other, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Because I probably haven't had that with my parents since I moved away like 10 years ago,
Hmm.
So, you
Okay.
come home for Christmas and stuff, but it's just a madness, you're seeing family, friends, etc. So no,
Yeah.
it definitely massively affected my training, but um, in a way it was good because I was able to just take a step back the first time in, since probably since I was 18 years old, like 10 years ago, and just kind of
Wow.
analyze, what I want, where I want to go for
Hmm.
the future, etc. And I've definitely left me in better stead at this point of the year now than if I would, try to push through because the stress that everyone was going through, I mean, everyone in the world, but the athletes, all of a sudden didn't know if they raced, couldn't swim, couldn't train. Or 1 minute you can do this, next minute you can't leave your house, you can't leave within 10 miles of your house and all this stuff. So I think because I took myself out of the sport, almost I didn't have that uncertainty apart from obviously when was I going to get back to the UK and when. So it was, it's kind of like a mixed bag for me, really.
So you say it's home Wales, was it Cardiff?
I live in Cardiff, but home is always Barbados. So I live and train in Cardiff. There's a British Triathlon training centre down there. So it's like a link up between Welsh Triathlon, Cardiff Cardiff University, and British Triathlon. So there's a good group of us down there training. Obviously, I'm the only Asian guy, but it's a bunch of British triathletes, mainly Welsh, and a few others. So it's really good training centre down there.
Your really interesting accent comes from? Is it like a little bit Barbadian, little bit of Welsh in there?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I also lived in Canada for 3 years, so probably a bit of that. So this is my best impression of the Queen's English. So I'm trying to speak as proper as I can,
No, it's great, man. No, relax into your normal accent. It sounds cool.
Yeah.
So we met in, was it 2019 at the Run Barbados?
I think it would have been 2018, just before I moved to Cardiff, actually. Yeah, 2018.
Sorry, 2018.
Yeah. So I didn't make it down for 2019.
Okay. Time has absolutely flown. Yeah, it was 2018. Sorry. Man. Yeah, man. And that was a real strong effort. I saw in 2019 there was a lot, pardon the pun. Was it the National Triathletes?
National championships. Yeah. So I won
and there was clear blue water between you and the second person.
Yeah.
That must have been an achievement.
National title.
Yeah.
Which was good because usually, since I moved away when I was 18 for university and stuff, I haven't been able to be home because it's nationals are usually always around October, so I've never had the opportunity to race it since I was old enough to race the full distance. And so it was great to win my first national title and get a little, race amongst friends and just have a low pressure race situation. Because last year was really intense with Olympic qualifying, so every race, something's on the line. So it's just amazing to come home and just chill out, see the kids I've coached before, see the kind of Sunday adult, and just hang out, have some fun on the course, So that was awesome.
Yeah, you guys are pretty different breed. I know the triathletes I've heard about, you guys do insane hours, especially once you get towards like being a pro or even just semi-pro. So I'd be really interested. Could you injuries aside, could you talk us through what your typical kind of week of training would look like?
Okay, yeah. So my week of training at the minute, I average probably the last, since I started about training in September, I've been averaging about 21 and a half hours, like up towards 23 and a half hours, without including gym. We just include kind of our aerobic hours. And gym is, probably another hour and a half on top of that, but we don't add that into our aerobic base. So I swim 5 times a week, which adds up to about 25 kilometers. I ride at the minute 4 times a week, which I do about 12 hours of riding, 350 kilometers-ish. And then I'm running 5 times a week, up at around about 60K a week at the minute. Slowly building back. So I've had a ton of injuries, so I haven't been able to hit a lot of high mileage running. And we break it down we do 3 main, so it's probably 17 sessions a week, I guess. And we do 3 main big sessions: 1 swim, 1 bike, 1 run. What we found last season was we just did too much intense. If you're trying to do a full run program, a full swim program, and a full ride program, you just end up with 6-7 hard sessions out of your 15 sessions a week, and you're just a shell of a person, and you can't then get enough of the aerobic base in you. So we've kind of cut that back now to 3 big kind of thresholdy sessions, which we, are zone 4 for your kind of physiology minded people. So we try to, spend 30 to 50 minutes in zone 4, depending on which sport. Obviously on the bike, you can push it a bit higher, and the run is, for me especially, is a bit lower end, more like 30 minutes because of my kind of my injury history. So and then we do a few other sessions with some of the mechanic stuff, so you're doing in the swim, some 25 and 50 meters quick but with big rest, or like on the run doing some 30-second hill sprints or 200s on the track with, you know, like 1 minute recovery, just for like the turnover as opposed to like the physiological benefits. So yeah, I think we found a really good base where we can do overall the amount of volume that you need to do without being just knackered all the time, you know, because we are doing basically 3 sessions a day every day. You know, it's 7 days in a week, and we're doing 17, 18 sessions. So it's a pretty intense program, but I think we found a really good balance, and this break from the pressures of racing has really given us a chance to kind of tweak, you know, since September all the way to December, tweak what's best and how to make it work. And, you know, because when constantly athletes are traveling to race and come back, and, you know, they have a few easy days there, they're tapering, and that it's really hard to get like a big picture. While, you know, since September, we've been very lucky to have, you know, a big like 12-week block where most of the guys, even with all the lockdowns and stuff in Wales, have been able to pretty much do uninterrupted training. And we can really, you know, when you get that amount of work, you can really kind of see what's happening and see the bigger picture. You know, it's not just like 3 weeks here with 2 races, then another 2 weeks, you know, where you can get those big kind of physiological and aerobic, you know, kind of concrete gains. So yeah, it's been really interesting, but been amazing the last few months.
Wow. It's going to be.
You don't have a day off during the week, eh? Not one day.
No, we at the minute we don't have a day off. What we do is we kind of have a big reduced kind of weekend. So we do a big run session on a Friday morning, and then we do a swim in the like middle of the day. So pretty much from like 2 p.m. on Friday until our bike session on Monday at like 1 p.m. So we have 72 hours of no intensity. But so Saturday morning is like a long ride of like 3.5 hours, and then the afternoon is off. And then Sunday morning I do my long run, which is about 1:20 and about 17K. And then I have the whole afternoon off again. So it works out to be, you know, almost 24 hours, you know, split there that you actually have off, but not say you have a full day to put your feet up per se. So it's kind of just, you know, you'd just be tricky with the timings. If you do, you know, finish one session by 10 a.m. the one day and start the next one by 10 a.m. the next day, that's almost like a day off. But it's hard to do when you're trying to do so many all 3 sports, you know, for the week.
Like you guys are pretty hardcore.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty intense, man. But fortunately, I don't have to work in between it, so I can just, you know, recover and catch myself. And that's the biggest difference, I think, between your professional athlete and your working person, is that we can recover, and the biggest, you know, you make the biggest gains in your recovery, not in the actual doing of the work, you know. So yeah.
And what was that process like, you know, coming through the ranks and becoming a pro? Is it what is that cusp? What makes you a pro? Is it getting a sponsorship? Is it you know, being recognized by your national federation? What are those lines that you have to cross, or boxes you need to tick?
Yeah, I guess, triathlon is quite a tough one, because you can kind of race at the elite level in like a professional race quite early on. Like I know some countries like the US, you have to do races to get your professional card. But being from Barbados, like you know, I've been fortunate, I've funded from like the Olympic Association and from a few, you know, other kind of government agencies in Barbados, and have some sponsorships as well. So I'd probably say I was professional. Probably when I left university, I mean, I was racing professional races for prize money and all that stuff when I was at university, but I still consider myself kind of a student athlete. And then I graduated from Loughborough University when I was 23. And so I guess from then, you know, where like triathlon is, if I wasn't doing triathlon, that's the only way I'm paying my bills. So I see that as, you know, that's when I guess you're professional, it's your profession. So probably I graduated in 2015. So from 2016 onwards, I guess I've been kind of full-time pro, not having to work, etc. Triathlon is my work sort of thing. So I'd say that. But yeah, triathlon is definitely a very unique sport in that it's not like, you know, you get a contract from a shoe sponsor if you're a runner, for example, and once you sign the dotted line, you've now become professional, you know. So it's a bit different, a bit different than that. And it's taken me a few years to kind of truly believe deep down in my heart, I guess, that this is my profession, this is what I do, you know, and this is how I pay the bills and pay rent and et cetera. So
nice. And you touched on Loughborough there. That's I was into music through my 20s, so I went to a music uni, but now I kind of found the love for running. Loughborough's that holy grail. I think looks absolutely amazing. The people who've come out of there. I know the Brownlees obviously train there when they're in the UK. I believe anyway. I hear that they're
no, they actually live and train in Leeds, not in they're from Leeds. So they actually are the guys that didn't come from Loughborough, but Loughborough is the British Triathlon headquarters, so I guess they've probably been down there a few times, but they train up in Leeds, and there's a training centre up there.
But yeah, that must have been great, because it looks like such a good uni to go to. I see people coming out there. A lot of good sports teams. What was your time like at Loughborough?
Yeah, no, man, amazing. Coming from little Barbados with like zero infrastructure, I never even had a triathlon coach. You know, I kind of had a track and field coach. I swam with a swim club, and then I'd go ride with the boys on a weekend sort of thing. And then I moved to Loughborough, where it's like headquarters of British Triathlon, and I was then training with world champions, world triathlon series guys, guys that went to Olympics, and then right after we got out of the pool on the morning, the British swimming professional guys and world record holders were diving in right after me, and I'm just like, this is insane. And then again, you're on the track and you're seeing all the British track and field sponsored athletes, kind of doing their stuff, all the sprinters, and obviously rugby was huge there as well. So a lot of guys I went to uni with then moved on to become professional rugby players after uni. And yeah, man, it's amazing the contacts I've made through kind of being in Loughborough, and just the facility, just everything available to the students is blow mind, and I just, I basically could walk from my halls of residence 3 minutes to one of the best kind of Olympic sized pools, 3 minutes the other way to one of the most amazing tracks in, the country with a massive indoor facility, and then 7 minutes to one of the most amazing gyms you've ever seen. And, then I got all this lab testing as well, and, physiology, support, physio. It was just crazy, and it's just a small university town as well. So it's basically the students, and then when the students leave in summer, all that's left are all the elite athletes and, a few locals, but that's it, So it was definitely very special. But I think also what comes with kind of that level of high performance, that level of success, is you do kind of get where it is a bit cutthroat, and it, kind of a lot of really good talent probably fell by the wayside, because it's so kind of results driven and so kind of outcome driven. I think a lot of, especially at, if you think university age, you get there at 18 years old, you're basically studying from 18 to 21. I think people kind of treat a lot of students straight away as you have to have it, you have to be on a professional level and be ready and all this, while when you look to the athletes that were just living there and funding, they're all 25 plus, they're all had their time to, be younger, make some mistakes, enjoy themselves a little bit. And it got to the point, it was a bit cutthroat. And if you're not, 100% committed, you do get the boot. And it's not like, oh, how can we help you stay on the straight and narrow? How can we let you, develop as a human being on a whole, and not just as an athlete, So sometimes I saw that with a lot of people, a lot of athletes, in certain sports. But overall, if you're willing, you're driven, you're committed, Loughborough is an amazing place to go,
Yeah, I think that's a big credit to you as well. Coming from a smaller infrastructure to such a big pond, it could have, for me as a person, I could imagine going one way or the other. So
yeah,
incredible to be surrounded by all of this and come through it. I suppose triathletes, you guys can work through anything. So it probably wasn't anything for you. But
I definitely got spanked the first 6-7 months for sure. I basically did double the training I'd ever done. And then knowing that winter came in and all this darkness and cold, and I'm used to 30 degrees all the time and sun. And that was, I showed up for my first ride in just a jersey and some shorts. And the guys are like, you need to come over to this afternoon. We need to give you some winter kit, because soon in a few months it's gonna be brutal, So I had to work through that. But again, it's one of those where I think environment breeds success. And when you're showing up to a place where there's 10 or 15 committed people, you just get dragged along in the process. I didn't even have to think. And because I was so young and so raw, it was almost every week I was getting better. If I wasn't getting sick or being knackered, I was improving all the time. And by the time January, February came along, I was, improved so much. I just smashed it, started to get some really good results. And just because, it's I just showed up every day and, just kind of try to learn and put myself at the forefront, and yeah, it was amazing, and I just loved it, and I was there to do this job, and I wanted to go there because of the sport, you know, and so I decided to take full advantage of it. And fortunately, coming from Barbados, I had a lot of partying as a younger kid as well, so I didn't get too swayed with the pressures and you know, a lot of these 18-year-olds are kind of first time ever leaving their parents and stuff, and you saw those ones that just got, you know, wanted to be on the Raz every few days. Well, I was fortunate enough that I got that out of my system when I was younger in Barbados, so I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, the rum in the UK doesn't compare, does it?
It was not the same. Even when I brought my own rum up, I don't know if it's like the ice tastes different or the mixer is different, but it just didn't go down as smooth when it's 2 degrees outside, you know?
That's right. Yeah, the ice is definitely different. You mentioned acclimatizing. When I first was honored to race in Barbados and I came back to the UK, it took me about a month to actually get warm. Yeah. And also adjust to the you know, the 2 weeks to adjust to the jet lag. Do you have any hacks that you use, you know, when you're traveling to generally to compete in races or coming back to the UK? Do you have any hacks to kind of acclimatize and ensure that you can maintain your training intensity?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess there's two things there. Obviously, it's like acclimatize to climate, and then time difference is also a big thing we deal with. So in terms of climate, obviously the biggest problem is going from cold to hot, right? Especially if you want to perform in the heat. Because even just, I've been home now for 2 weeks, and the session I did, say on Sunday, because you know we run with heart rate, and I think heart rate is a really good kind of gauge to know, to see the big physiological difference between kind of climates. And you know, I did my long run the one Sunday in Cardiff in like about 5 degrees, you know, kind of average speed, say 440 a kilometer. My heart rate was about average of 150 beats. And then I did the exact same long run a week later in 32 degrees heat. And, you know, my heart rate was about 8 beats higher and the pace was about 10 seconds slower, you know. And towards the last like 30 minutes, because my body had also overheated at that time, I had to really bring it right back to even slower than like 5 minutes a K, just to keep my heart rate under my first threshold. And it's, you know, really amazing to see kind of how the heat and humidity affected me. I know I was really, really fit, but just because of this one difference. Obviously, maybe I was still a bit jet lagged, etc. But then the following week I ran like pre the sun coming up, and it was just straight back in. Obviously, I was a bit acclimatized a week later, but also without the sun on my back, and you know, it drizzled a bit and it was maybe 1 or 2 degrees cooler. I was able to run the same speed to the same heart rate. So, you know, for me, it's like if you're in a cold country, like stuff like sauna, they've shown like it's really, really good. 15, 20 minute sauna, probably. You want to do it quite concentrated. So I say 3 to 4 days before going out, you know, stuff like saunas or steam rooms or like hot baths, about 40 degrees Celsius. If you sit in them like 20 to 30 minutes, that's a lot of the science that we've learned. Even when I was in Canada, because we do a lot of races in Mexico and stuff, you know, so, you know, we do a lot of heat prep stuff. Like me, some people do stuff where they put a heater in a bathroom or ride your bike or a heater and run and stuff. But I think the problem with training under those intense heats is that you do end up missing a bit of mileage, because obviously you're not going to do the same volume in a shit ton hotter like conditions inside of a bathroom than you would do if you go right outside. So for me, it's like your first aim is to be as fit as you possibly can, bottom line, and then you do the hacks. You know, like it doesn't make any sense doing 2 hours in the sauna if you're missing an extra hour or 2 hours of running or training a week or 3 hours a week. So, and then when you do in terms of traveling, what I try to do if there's a big time difference, you obviously look at when you're flying. I always would try to aim to get a flight where you arrive in the place which enables you to either start your day or finish your day. So either that you land at say at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. that time, so you can have your dinner at normal time in the country you're going to be, and then try to get sleep right away, or do an overnight flight where you take some sleeping pills, try to get 5-6 hours, and then arrive to have a full day in that country. I find stuff like if it's a big long haul flight that you're arriving at like 1 p.m., 2 p.m., you're kind of like a bit, you don't know what to do with yourself because you're so knackered, you just want to sleep, but you have to wait a few more hours to go to bed. So it's like get right onto the time difference that you're going to be going to. And when I've raced in like Asia, say when I was in Canada, you're doing like 12, 13 hour difference. I tried to start, 3-4 days before flying. getting into the time zone. So, you know, so I was flying from Canada and it was basically night and day. So say I went to bed normally at 9 p.m. So say I did the 5-day thing. The first day would be go to bed at 10 p.m., wake up at, 7 p.m. a.m. Next day, go to bed at 11, wake up at 8. Next day, go to bed at midnight, wake up at 9. Go to bed at 1 a.m., wake up at 10. Go to bed at 2 a.m., wake up at 11. And just also adjust your training to suit that. So train a bit later, if obviously the darkness sometimes has a play, but obviously work it out. With running, you could go to a gym at 9 p.m. and do a jog if you're trying to stay up later. And adjusting my eating times and everything. So that's those are kind of my two main things that I'd say is try to get on to where you're going as soon as possible. And especially like race time as well. You don't want to be being used to going to bed at the time that race time is going to be in your new country, So Barbados is quite good with the flights from the UK because you kind of arrive at 4 or 5 p.m. and then it's like 9 p.m. your body clocks you're ready to go to bed and then you just wake up earlier. And so it's quite good. But going back to the UK, you're right, Ray, it's like a nightmare. Or you just get so knackered because of that overnight flight that you don't sleep and then you have to stay up the whole day. It always kills me off. So I'm still trying to work out that one. But usually going back to the UK, I'm not, there's no pressure for me to be race ready or whatever. So it's, you have a few days you can catch yourself.
Yeah, that's some really great tips.
Yeah, really interesting.
Thanks, guys.
We're all about running here, but no pressure at all. I was wondering, out of the 3 disciplines, which one's your favorite?
Unfortunately, actually running is my favorite. So I kind of go backwards. So go running to cycling to swimming. So I think I'm in the right place.
I know.
All right.
Ray prepped you for that, didn't he?
Yeah. It's like
that's like asking a parent who's their favorite child, Sam. I was thinking about asking it, but I didn't want to offend.
No, that's a rough one. But no, actually, running is kind of where my background came from when I was kind of like 14, 15 is what like I always did triathlon, but running was where I had my first kind of big successes kind of on a like regional stage, at least across the Caribbean, was through running. So
what were you what did you start at then? What kind of got you into it? Because that's an interesting
so I mean, when I was a kid I was doing everything, when I was in primary school, cricket, football, swimming, running. Like I was never in any I was organized football and cricket, but I never was in a swim club or a run club or anything like that. So because I was sporty at school, they put me in the swim meets and the cross country, etc. But then I went to secondary school and I kind of was playing football, playing cricket for the school. I was good at swimming because I could kind of sprint a bit. So I do like the inter-school with Barbados. I was like an inter-secondary school sport. So I do the swimming for that. And then I, joined the swim club, and my house captain, like, I don't know, in the UK, I think it's similar. You have like different colors of houses in the school, and, you go against each other in school sports, inter-house sports, sorry. And my captain was like, look, I know you swim, like you probably could run good long distance when you run the 800 and 1500 meters at the school, the school sports day. So I was like, all right, I'll do that. And ended up winning both of them. And so because of that, I then qualified for the inter-secondary school sport championships. And I was going to do the 1500 under 3K because that was like under 15. So I was maybe 13, 14 then. And I think I came like 5th in the 3K, off of doing basically no training or some training at the school, but playing football and swimming and whatever. And this coach, one of my best friends, was one of the better runners in Barbados at the time. And his coach was coaching him and the other guy, and he came up to me at the end of school sports and was like, you should maybe come with Jason to practice one day. I think you'd be a good little runner, et cetera, et cetera. And so the following year, kind of the September, October, the beginning of term time, I was doing the inter-school cross-country stuff and then joined in for a training session, and it took off. I really enjoyed it. I was playing football, but my team wasn't great. So we had a few really good players, but the overall team wasn't great. So it's like I can work as hard as I want, but our age group wouldn't get selected to go on tours of England, while like the age group under us and the age group above us. And I was like, this isn't fair because we have 4 good players, but not 11. But running kind of gave me that. I show up, I work hard, I get all the results. And it was like direct correlation that whatever I put in, I get out. And so basically, I kind of maybe joined that run club in like October, and then I qualified for we call it the Crifter Championships, which is the Caribbean like junior track and field champs. Basically any track and field Caribbean athlete you see at the Olympics today has come through the Crifter Championships. Like Usain Bolt has the records, you know, all the everyone, you know, it's a big kind of obviously war of the Caribbean, and it's like the biggest thing for us junior kids, you know, growing up. So I qualified for the 3,000 meters in the first year of my age group, which is under 17, and yeah, went to this meet and it was just amazing. Like I watched Johan Blake break the, you know, under 20 100-meter record that day, and then he then also goes on to be the superstar, you know, and it's all these guys that, you know, I saw Johan Blake at 17 years old run 10-1 for the 100 meters, and it's like, I was like, wow, this is cool, man. Like I work hard, I get to come to these things, and I knew I had one more year in that age group, so I came fourth that year in the 3,000. But I was like, look, I want to win. I want to win this next year. I need to win next year. So, you know, you put in a big 8 months of training, and I went the following year and came second in the 15, and then won the 3K, and you know, splashed all over the front page of the Barbados newspaper. And it was like, you know, my parents were just getting calls nonstop from people who saw me running. You know, you as a young kid, you'd also enjoy all that adulation. You know, my school like got me up on the stage at the morning assembly, and I was only the second kid from that school to ever win a gold medal at Crifter and all this stuff. And it was, you know, quite big. And I was like, this is amazing. I love this. And I put my work in, I get the results out, and like, you know, so many people are like noticing me for it. And yeah, so I was definitely intrinsically motivated, but it did help that, you know, you're getting all this adulation because of it. And yeah, so because like with the running, I definitely was key on that, but was doing quite well in triathlons regionally because of my run. You know, I was getting off the bike and being able to run through a lot of guys and beat a lot of kind of like senior Caribbean athletes. And yeah, but running was definitely the thing that, you know, got me into it. And the run coach I had to this day, I think he's one of the best coaches in Barbados in terms of just understanding like physiological, you know, underpinnings. And he's done really well with so many amazing runners that have come out of Barbados, gone on scholarship, you know, Olympians. And even when I see him today, we can just sit down and nerd out about physiology for 2 hours, you know. And I got him to thank for my mindset and for my understanding of, you know, kind of giving me that boost and that foundation to then go on to Loughborough and really just be able to like take off because of the kind of the training he gave me when I was a young kid.
That's brilliant. Sounds like a great journey and a strong foundation there.
Yeah.
And so if you were to be telling someone getting into the sport, or someone who, you know, not just running, but I think generally as a kind of disciplined athlete, what would you say? I think probably one, if you can say one, great, because it's quite nice, but if it's 3 kind of tips that you would say for someone getting into it, what would those be?
Yeah. Number 1 would be patience, I think, especially if you're just getting to be patient. I think like at least 30 days to see any progress, but maybe even up to 2-3 months. And I think in order to have patience, number 2 would be to find a friend or find a group to join. Because I think if your only battle is getting to a place to go running with someone, that's a lot better than having to then work out where you want to run, how long you're running for, you know. So I think for me personally, environment is everything with my training. And even just coming back home now where I'm by myself, I don't have my training group, it's a lot mentally harder to get myself up to 17 sessions a week instead of like knowing I just need to get to the pool for 7:30 and dive in and everything else is taken care of, you know. So I think having a friend or a group to kind of join up with is really important. And just, yeah, I like consistency, you know, just show up, just do it. Some days just do it even if you don't feel like, but it does work out in the end, you know. So if you're consistent over an extended period of time, you will see the difference. And that's for endurance sport, there's no secrets. It's just consistency over an extended period of time, bottom line. Like later on down the line, you could try to get all, you know, cute with all the specific physiology and zones and wearables and etc. But to start with, I think just, you know, commit to 3 times a week for 4 or 5 weeks and then see how you go. You know, don't let it don't let it fall off, because you're not, whatever you put in, you get out. So if you are not only running once every 10 days, you can't, how do you expect to see any improvements, you know?
Yeah, love those 3. That's spot on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really strong.
That was great.
Another one that I'm interested in. Sorry, Ray, am I cutting it? You go for one.
No, absolutely. I'm just saying it was great and just taking a pause of reflection. Really profound. Thanks. Go on, Sam.
I've got so many questions. So first one is you talk about wearables, and you know, I'm sure I don't know what you run in or who you're sponsored by, but you know, there's the kind of 2 years of the super shoe. So I'm not sure what you think of the carbon revolution, and whether you run in, you know, alphas or next percents or any of the Saucony or similar. But yeah, what your take on is those?
Basically, if you're a high level of profession, if you're not in them, you're losing out massively. Because I mean, I don't know about all of them, but I know, like I basically had some friends that have gone in the lab and tested the new next percents, and it is 7 to 8 seconds a K for 5K running at about 14:30 pace, you know. So I don't have the next percents yet. I definitely need to get them for this season. So I had the 4% when they first came out. And again, it's like running on clouds, you know, the boost, but like they were nowhere near to what the Alpha Flies and the next percents are like. And you see now, obviously, Adidas are bringing out, Asics have brought them out, Saucony have brought them out. So obviously people haven't tested the other brands as much as yet, because obviously Nike were the first to the post really. But for me, it's people say, oh, is it a shame, does it suck that they're out and etc. But I'm like, if you don't have them, 100%, obviously it sucks. But also just bear in mind, I think just a goalpost of change, right? So you're say before sub 15, people, you know, you're sub 15 for 5Ks now, sub 14:30, you know, and like the world records on the road are just, as I've listened to a few sports scientists say, like human physiology has not moved on this much in 2 years. Like basically what we've seen across the last 2 years, you know, we didn't see that much shift over the last 20 years, right? So it's like, it's not that training has increased, nothing. It's just the efficiency of the runners has been allowed to be boosted massively by these shoes, you know. And obviously the longer distance you run, the more it's seen, you know. So when you get to the marathon with those guys, it's phenomenal. But what I would say, and what is a positive, like my coach was on a conference the other day, I think it was a British Triathlon one or something, and this physiologist spoke and he said what they do see is still the runners that have the kind of the stiffest Achilles, you know, strongest calves and strongest kind of lower limbs do get the most response from the shoe. So, you know, if you just train in them all the time, you don't do your lower limb work, you know, aren't kind of like powerful off the ground, everyone's going to see a response, no doubt about it. But in the end, kind of your strongest runners, your kind of your best biomechanically proficient runners are going to see the biggest bang for their buck, you know. So that is a positive in a way, but it is also tough. It's almost like the Lance Armstrong and the doping saga in cycling, where it's like some people got so much more of a boost from the doping than other guys who are like almost at the limit, you know, naturally. So it's like, are you going to see runners that maybe were nowhere now coming up because they're getting a 12-second advantage per K instead of the other guys that want to get in 3 or 4 seconds per K, you know. So that's the only kind of what if. But yeah, for me, it's like you have them or you're way down, you know. That's the bottom line. And as a professional, you need to accept that, and it makes no sense crying about it. It's like it's available to everyone. Get a pair, or you're gonna be coming way down the field, you know. So
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think I'm along those lines as well. I ran in the 4%, then the next percent, and now I've got the Alpha Flies.
How do you find the difference? Yeah, big.
They're just, they're incredible. I think they work with my type of running as well. I think nice. The 4%, I'm really on my toes, and I've come more to midfoot, and I get so much more.
Yeah.
And the Alpha Flies are just my shoe. Jesus, honestly, I can't. They're incredible. But then the difference is I've shaved off. Like I was running maybe 16:45 for a 5K. And now down to 15:38 this summer, which it was a great course. You know, I did a lot of training. Like you say, I was definitely in better shape, but I also had that little marginal gain, which meant sub 16 was on the cards. I just had to believe it. You know, that's the other thing. Fine, isn't it? When you're going, you're like, I'm running 308. I can't run 308. What's this about? But then, it's a lot to it, isn't it?
That's exactly it, where you're kind of like, that's the scariest thing I think for me. If I have a next sense and I'm going to do a race, so I look down and see the watch, I'm like, oh, shouldn't be running this fast, I'm gonna blow up so badly. But then all of a sudden you don't blow up, and it's like you said, it's just trying to understand. So whether it's you do a few sessions in it or whatever, but yeah, it's tough. And I think people, you almost need to have a PB and then a next percent PB, or world record and a next percent world record, because it is just massively different, right? You're looking at a minute and a half over 10K, almost a minute over 10K, which is just like, you say 30-ish, 30 seconds, depending on the speed of running. And yeah, you said, like, if you have that mid-foot contact, then you're going to fly in next percent. So yeah, it's mad.
Yeah. It's interesting, Matt, that you touched on in the conference about having strong legs or strong ankles and strong feet.
Yeah.
I used to, before all these kind of carbon plate trainers, I used to train in like barefoot trainers and very minimalist, and then race in my, rocker trainers, which I found I could run faster and harder because I've done a lot of the pre-work with, with the minimalist. And I recently put on the, the Meta Racer, and they were very, very snappy and responsive.
Yeah.
But I kind of think that if I was wearing them all the time, my feet would probably get lazy. So I'm just going to rotate up between my minimalist long distance and speed trainers, just to make sure, the feet, ankles, the ligaments don't get kind of fixed to that kind of running.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a big argument now, because people are like, oh, these, because even now you have the I think it's like the Alpha Flight Tempo as well, Nike brought out, and they brought out these training shoes with these huge soles as well, and it's like, a lot of the runners kind of, it's like the two arguments where people are like, I can now do so much more mileage because my legs are recovering so much more because they're not getting as beat up because of all the big foam. And it's like, yeah, but are you actually getting the advantage of doing so much more mileage, because of not getting beat up? It's like, maybe, the mitochondrial turnover and stuff in your muscles might be increasing because you're doing 30 more miles a week, but is it actually 30 more miles? It's looking more like 5 or 10 because your feet, your ankles, your calves are not doing as much work, and that's why they're not getting beat up. Because for me, it's like, soreness is the bottom line, tells you what you've done, and you're not sore after your easy 6K jog. If you go do a hard 10K race, you're flipping sore. So it just shows like soreness is a direct correlation to the work you do. So if you're, 10-mile run used to make you sore, but you put on these other shoes, it's not making you sore. It's like, is it giving you as much of a, mechanical benefit or muscular or etc.? You're getting as much response, inflammation response, etc. from that long run that you were before. So I mean, I don't know, it's a tough one. I think everyone's still learning about it, still trying to figure it out. But I do, as you said, Ray, I do think the balance is good, where for me, I have like ASICS have brought out this kind of distance shoe called the Nova Blast, which is
I've got that.
Amazing. And Sarah Hall, who came second in London and just won the project, the marathon project race. She does all her mileage in that, and I've got a pair of them, and I do my long runs in it, and it's amazing how, especially when you're on the road, like how springy it is and how less kind of fatigue your legs feel. But I then do have, like ASICS do another one called the Dyna Blast that I then run in kind of my, mid-range kind of shoe on my warm-up before my sessions and etc. And I do sessions in like DS races, so like the, minimalist kind of racing flat that we used to all like to race in. And just because, again, that's why I feel comfortable in, but it's finding the small balance, because now I'm running the most mileage I've ever run, but is it that I have this Nova Blast, this big, thick sole? Is that helping me? Hindering me? I don't know, because I mean, I have gone my ankle a few times with that thicker sole, because you don't have as good a feel for the roads, the odd little road you go over. I wouldn't recommend them for like harder trails with a lot of rocky bits and stuff, but for smooth roads and smoother trails, they're amazing, grassy fields, etc. But yeah, it's a really interesting debate, and I think only time will tell you. It's gone full circle from the the race that had this much soul to race and all that's like
love it,
brilliant.
So I think last thing I'd like to ask, just what you kind of have coming up, because people we've chatted to before haven't been pros, so we're kind of we're in the hands of all the event organizers. London Marathon's potentially happening in October, but you never know. For you, is there anything coming up on your calendar for 2021?
At the minute, so the International Triathlon Union has put on, well, it's now called World Triathlon, have put some races on the calendar and all that stuff, but at the minute, for me, it's just not worth the stress of the logistics of traveling. So World Triathlon did say that they're going to give us Olympic qualifying back from March 15th, which they took, they kind of paused it last year, March 15th. And it's to go until the middle of May. And then after that, like that's who has enough points, because triathlon works in a point system as opposed to a time like track and field, or marathon, etc. So that they've said that they'll give us, that's the plan, but they'll, by the end of January, middle of February, we'll know better off. But at the minute, I'm just kind of like, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just, kind of controlling what I can control, do the best training I can do. I'm going to be in Barbados till the end of January to try to put in a good block of riding and stuff in the sun, and, keep up the run mileage, etc. And then I'll see if I even go back to the UK, because at the minute, with all the lockdowns and stuff, it's like, Barbados is the best place to be, because everything's open. I can train unobstructed, and so we'll see how I go. So I think for right now, it's like get back to the UK, look at, come middle of Feb, end of Feb, I'll see what it's looking like, and then go from there. Because it's not just going to races, but also British Triathlon have kind of put in a protocol where if you go international travel, you come back to the centre, you need to, self-isolate for 5 days, take a test, and you can only return to the training centre after you have come back with a negative. So again, it's like, do I then want to travel to then miss a week of training again with the squad? And that kind of adds up. So it's like, I'll see what February looks like, and hopefully stuff has calmed a bit, but who knows, man, it's just going a bit crazy at the minute.
Well, I think there's so much. I think we've only just scraped the surface with some stuff with you. There's so many interesting bits, and also with stuff that's going on in February, March time. So if you're available, it'd be amazing to have you back and kind of look at your journey and see where you've got to, if you're free and you'd like to. Yeah,
man, I'd love that. Just give me a shout and we can organize for sure. Yeah. Whether I'm here or I'm in the UK, it just time difference might be the only but the beauty of this pandemic is Zoom. I mean, I wish I had shares in Zoom, but it's just makes it very accessible to everyone.
One thing, I was on a run with some mates last week, and I was like, what one thing would you have done if you could have done different at the start of lockdown? They were like, oh, I would have bought this, I would have bought that. I was like, I'd buy shares in Zoom.
100%.
Straight.
Shares in Zoom or hand sanitizer, 1, 2.
Yeah, so thanks so much. Really, really been good to chat to you.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks so much for having me on.
No, pleasure, Matt. Thanks for taking time out your schedule to join us. All the best for your training this afternoon, and like Sam said, we look forward to catching up with you next year. Perfect. Have a happy Christmas and Merry New Year.
Yeah, for sure. Pleasure, fellas. Right. Really enjoyed it. All right, guys. Cheers. You too. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Merry Christmas. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Take care.